And we're live. Welcome back to the show, History of Homos podcast, and welcoming back a friend of the show and frequent collaborator, Monica Perez.
Hi, guys.
Hello, Monica.
Hi. I'm a little disappointed you're not wearing a purple suit or have a handlebar mustache. Come on, William.
I've had a rough day today.
He's renovating.
Yeah.
I just felt like something normally. Three-piece suit.
Yeah, I am between mustaches at the moment. Yeah.
I see that. You look a lot younger and your hair is shorter.
Yeah, I'm ready for a haircut, actually. I've gone straight edge now. I'm like certain podcasters, you know, my appearance and my opinions just change like that.
Yeah.
Whatever I think is going to make me more money.
From libertarian to fascist in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
Fair enough. I've seen it before.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, so Monica, thank you for joining us again. This is you asked us to do an extremely exciting, and I'm going to actually, and I hope you don't mind, I'm going to utilize the naming convention that we have for all of these similar episodes. We're going to title this episode "Was David Berkowitz Programmed to Kill?" because it's really a series of episodes that we all sort of yes, Monica, you want to address the class?
Yeah.
Play the clip.
Oh,
I was waiting for the signal to play the clip.
Okay, here we go. I just want to make sure.
I know Monica's read.
This is David Berkowitz, so
okay.
I'll just play. You can hear the audio, right? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wish I could just go back into the past and change everything. Looking back, it was all so senseless. You know, being the son of Sam was the biggest waste. It was the biggest lie. Satan had me totally deceived. I didn't know what I was thinking. I had just been programmed to kill.
Wow.
There it is, folks.
Yeah. We're done.
There it is. Thank you, Monica, for furnishing us this clip. It also appears in one of the letters, possibly the Jimmy Breslin letter, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, Programmed to Kill, it's off topic of the show, of course. Also, so this is sort of like where it's coined from, essentially. And also the book that we read this week was Ultimate Evil by Maury Terry, of course. Me and William were sort of discussing this off air, but they will have this book will have been very influential for the Programmed to Kill book by Dave McGowan in the 2000s.
Yeah, I think we actually said it on last week's live stream.
Oh, that's where
it's pretty sure that McGowan read this.
It's referred to.
Yeah.
I just reread this for y'all.
Yeah.
And there's a chapter, it says, I can't get into it in as much detail as Maury Terry did, but
yeah, I think the thing with that book is, and what I remember harking back to when we actually reviewed it, that's one of those books that you could give a normie. I've thought about doing it where, like, if somebody's like, oh, you know, how come you believe all this crazy shit? It's okay, we'll read this because it's pretty well argued, isn't it?
Okay. I have a comment about that.
Go on then.
Okay, so I read this in text originally, and then I read it. I wanted to redo it, but I was traveling, so I did audio style like y'all, which I'm not totally used to. Made me fall asleep a lot.
Yeah.
So maybe I missed something, but I felt like similar to the weird scenes inside the canyon, what he does, and I know you admire this because Wendy Painting does it too, really gives you all the facts, all the dots, but doesn't go into speculation connecting dots.
Yeah.
Right.
You agree that does it? So a normie might say, well, he's just saying there's sloppy police work with every one of these serial killings and blah, blah, blah. I like it brought home sometimes a little bit. I want speculation. I think it's more fun. But yes, that's what makes it seem kooky.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, William, if you recall, not the week that we had read it, but afterwards, I had furnished Programmed to Kill to a family member, and he came back with, I don't know, I'm not really convinced. And I was like, oh, it wasn't just a comment I made about how the Henry Lee Lucas movie sucks.
Yeah.
It does.
That is a good example, though, that they left that guy out of all of the reform, like prison reform, they never say let out people who possess small.
Yeah, free Henry Lee Lucas.
Yeah, and the first thing they do is like minor violent crimes. And I live in LA. That's what they actually say, like a minor. Right, it's like there's a ton of people in jail for non-violent crimes, and they let out a serial killer who immediately like killed again. Did he not? Which of course was part of the expansion of the prison industrial complex in Texas, which I did talk to a guy who was in the prison system once, and he said they totally bribe people to, make mandatory sentencing and all of that.
Sure. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
Well, I mean, McGowan does at the end of the book, like draw conclusions, doesn't he? About
the end of the book. It does. Yeah. I like that. And even the John Benet Ramsey one, because there's like a prologue. I don't know if you have the same edition, but.
Yeah, we have the same. I at least have the soft cover exact copy right over there.
It's so awful.
It really is. And also, I will say, I don't really think, I just personally wouldn't give it to a total normie, because like that first 2 chapters, it really gives you a trial by fire where they're talking about all like the child snuff and the satanic, stuff in it.
Yeah. And the cover-ups, the government.
Yeah. And the Michael Aquino stuff. But Michael Aquino is like intertwined with this story, but he doesn't really make an appearance because he's involved in the OTO and Scientology way early on as well, which is where this all sort of springs out of.
But you might not know because you guys were listening to Ultimate Evil, and that's a newer edition. I think I bought a first edition like I always do for the exact reason OTO sued Maury Terry to pull out all references to OTO. So mine has like 50 references and yours probably has none.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I don't remember if it mentioned OTO at all.
Yeah, it definitely mentioned OTO. I'm very familiar with them
from Dave McGowan stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So, but
I think it was only in the American editions, wasn't it?
Yes. Maybe. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. But yes,
crazy, because you guys have got the First Amendment, so.
Right. The First Amendment.
We're very litigious.
I was just going to say the First Amendment that allows you to be immensely litigious.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, so this really is sort of how we have to start, though. OTO is sort of what spawned Scientology, sort of, because OTO, where I guess it's sort of, kind of, but regardless, Scientology came out of like the LaVey, L. Ron Hubbard, and the guy from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. I don't remember his name.
Yeah, Sex and Rockets, Jack Parsons. There's a huge building that says Parsons right near where I live.
The Jack Parsons Project. Yeah, there you go.
Very good.
Well, I think Scientology is part of the whole Cecil Rhodes thing. It's the part of the solidifying the Anglo-American establishment. And I'll tell you why, because it was like Hubbard was an American dude, but Scientology started in England.
Yeah.
And like I had a relation.
So did the process.
Yeah. And a relation of mine went, these Americans with their crazy religions, when I was talking about Scientologists. But, it started in East Grinstead in England.
De Grimston. The De Grimstons were English.
Yeah, that's where they got their name from. Yeah, the De Grimstons.
Oh, yeah. I never did find like I didn't think to really do super deep dive, but like a Tavistock connection. Marianne Faithfull was in one of the Process magazines, and her dad was the Tavistock guy, right?
I think the Beatles got into the Process too, which is they're kind of associated with Tavistock too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's right.
But what was I going to say though is so basically, as you just alluded to, William, Scientology sort of really arose, despite the fact that L. Ron Hubbard had created Dianetics in America and had like a brief celebrity as being the self-help guy. After that sort of fell apart, he was like, I got to angle this into a religion. And he started in England. And among the original members of Scientology were this guy named Robert. I don't remember his original name, but they changed their names to Robert and Mary Ann de Grimston.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they had, despite the fact that they were in the original iteration of Scientology, they sort of splintered off, as you do with any sort of kooky cult that is based in weird sex stuff at its heart, essentially. Certainly was when they were hanging out with.
It's got the whole struggle session angle in it as well, isn't it?
Definitely. And it's definitely with that Jack Parsons stuff, all weird sex stuff that, Anton LaVey very famously was like really into weird sex stuff. That was like the primary thing of the Church of Satan is weird sex stuff. And then having weird sex stuff with fucking what's his name? Sammy Davis Jr. and shit.
What? Yeah. What was was that in Program to Kill? The Sammy Davis Jr.
I've heard that elsewhere.
Nuts. Yeah. And was it Eddie Murphy or Dave Chappelle said he got in a car with him? And he said,
that's news. That one's new to me.
Eddie Murphy. And Sammy Davis Jr. says, hey, like you should try this Satan stuff. And,
that's what he said when he saw some gay satanic sex.
Eddie Murphy, to his credit, did not bite, as it were.
No, Eddie Murphy's too funny.
Yeah. Oh, he's my fave. But yeah, I think that he was like.
They caught him with a tranny that one time, though. Right?
He was gonna
do. Does it matter if it's just oral?
Oh.
Come on, man.
I don't know. Maybe he didn't know. Maybe he didn't know. I don't know.
I'm just having fun here. I just like to say
that stuff is not my.
Rich guys get into weird shit. I'll say that.
But I remember years ago there was like this whole thing about Netflix has signed Eddie Murphy to do another stand-up special. Did he actually ever do it?
Yeah, I think so.
Was it shit?
It was unremarkable.
All right.
Yeah.
Once he did the second Coming to America, because I thought he had dropped out kind of Chappelle style, like I'm just not compromising that much with y'all.
Yeah, he's a gazillionaire.
And then they both came back and were like, I wouldn't even watch Coming to America 2, even though the first one I loved.
Shouts out to Frank Zen, of course. Hopefully you're listening, Frank Zen. But Frank Zen insists that Chappelle is not the same Chappelle that was on the Chappelle show.
He's been replaced.
Yes, that's right. # replaced.
One way or another.
# birds aren't real.
Metaphorical. He's a pod.
No, I think Frank believes at least that he's some sort of clone.
Different
like
person.
You remember that the fourth Alien movie where there's like that whole room full of Ripleys?
Yeah.
Like they got a room full of Chappelles, basically.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't remember that. Well, no matter what the reason.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, so okay, the Grimstons, the Grimstons, they come to America. They sort of start their own thing. And by the way, I do believe that the Beatles and a bunch of the Rolling Stones got involved in it for briefly. And
Keith Richards, wasn't he on site for some of this stuff?
Supposedly, yeah.
In Yonkers.
Yeah. But it's okay. So, and apparently this also majorly influenced Manson, by the way. Manson's entire theology, his goofy theology was like incredibly influenced by the process theology where it's like twin gods, Satan and Jesus. Like, you know what I mean?
I bought this cross and started wearing it since I started reading these books.
You messaged me, yeah.
Yeah, like a real cross with like the Corpus Christi. Like my mom's like, it's not Catholic if it doesn't have the Corpus Christi. It was this book that really got me. This was a book that Son of Sam told Jimmy Breslin or somebody, or Maury Terry to read. And this is where it said like the Arliss Perry marginalia.
Yes. Yeah, well, we're going to get into that.
Book, The Anatomy of Witchcraft. And one of the things is like, it really freaks them out when you wear a cross. And I'm like, done and done. I got my glow in the dark rosaries.
Nice. And there's a whole litany of spooky shit related to the Manson thing. We literally our last bonus stream we discussed. I recently read Chaos. That was pretty good. It was pretty good. But I already knew it all from the other books. So
but there's a little bit more that wasn't in there, I feel like.
Exactly, yeah. So that's all kind of spooky stuff. But as it turns out, there was a sort of a New York where the family, Manson's family, was sort of the West Coast contingency of this. The East Coast was the
children
that came out of Yonkers, New York, which is sort of north of the Bronx.
It's right across. That's like basically where I'm from. Rockland County is right. He kept writing for the Rockland County Journal News. I'm from Rockland County.
Yeah.
I remember this very being actually scared.
I was going to ask you. You were definitely caught what's the word? You're sapiens when this was going on.
Yes, sentient sapiens.
Yeah. Have you ever picked your feet in Poughkeepsie?
Right.
Try not to kick my feet, but I've been to Poughkeepsie.
Well, good. I'm glad you didn't pick your feet in Poughkeepsie, because I knew a guy who picked his feet in Poughkeepsie, and you don't want to know what happened to that guy.
But I knew a bus driver who I was just talking to the other day, was a bus driver in Yonkers during this time, and said that on she, whatever. I don't even want to give her correct her. It's a her. But she drove by her. She had a pickup on Pine Street. And I was like, she said, yeah. I was
in Yonkers. Wow.
Time. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Woof.
So David Berkowitz was like just a young, I believe he was probably experimented on in the army in Korea. Yeah.
Yeah. I did a lot of research on that. And there were connections there, I think, he was there in I think he was there in 1970. Was he? Anyway, in 1962, they started laying the groundwork for experiments in Korea and Japan on people with LSD. And in the beginning, anyway, they did it without them knowing. It was important for you not to know you've been dosed. So that would really mess with you. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's every time, isn't it? It's every single time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the idiom expression.
Yeah, and it said in a 2013 CBS News article I read, it said he became interested in the occult after leaving the army.
Yeah, plus he's an orphan.
Yeah.
Went
up through an orphanage, probably molested in there too.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't in an orphanage.
Well, he was adopted.
Berkowitz, yes, but he had in utero trauma. According to him, he feels a big part of it was his because his mother wanted to keep him and his father wouldn't let it. So they had like physical altercations.
Right.
Interesting.
But he was raised by somebody who wasn't his flesh.
I thought maybe he spent some time in foster.
No, but he was like incorrigible. But there were some theories. My grandfather used to say this, like if you're not in the same family, like it's hard to understand the behavior of the child and you may not be able to vibe with him and it can make him kooky.
I've heard that. That makes sense. Go ahead.
What he said, though, I watched so many interviews with him. What he said was when he was pretty little, like 5 years old, his father, under the advice of the counselors, said to him, your mother died in childbirth.
Right.
And he said that was so traumatic to him because then
it's his fault.
He killed his mother.
Right. Yeah. Did you ever hear that story about that girl that died in like this illegal rebirthing thing in the 90s? This woman, like this adopted girl, like they did this radical therapy. She wasn't like meshing with the family or whatever. And so they took them to this kooky psychologist. And I didn't really look that deeply into it, but I think if you probably looked into it, they're CIA funded. But I'm speculating. But
like false memories.
Yeah, it was similar to that. Yeah. And so there was this they had this radical therapy where they would try to rebirth you by and they said part of the thing was if you didn't physically go through the physical effort of being born with that child or whatever, or with that mother, you'll never have like the bond or whatever. So they do this thing where they put this little girl under mattresses and
Candace Newmaker
her to push out of these mattresses or whatever, and she suffocated and died. And obviously, and I don't think anybody went to jail over it either. They got sued and got into a lot of they lost their license to do stuff or whatever, but nobody went to jail over it. It was definitely a not necessary thing to do, and it's just really freaky that's a real story.
Well, it's crazy, isn't it? The stuff they do with kids.
It's a terrible story. I'm reading it right now. Candace Newmaker. It isn't. She does have a wiki page.
Yeah.
So maybe it didn't happen, but
he's got a globe behind him.
Now we know it's bullshit. But what's it called? So anyway, we'll get back to I agree with your take, Monica, is that there's probably some sort of inadequacy there from the childhood of being not feeling like an unwanted kid. Even also, I think that's part of the mainstream narrative is that this pushed him to, snap or whatever. Yes.
And his adoptive mother died when he was 14. And
right.
in my observation of kids who've had like 12 years old lose their mother, it's nothing could be worse than that. I mean, I really think that your psyche is not fully formed. You lose your mother at that age. It's the worst thing that could happen.
Sure, that makes sense.
14 might be over that.
That's another reason why I'm a Fed. My dad died when I was 13.
That's bad. It's not as bad as the mom.
No.
And you saw that coming because your dad was 100.
Yeah.
Not that I don't sympathize with you, but I don't believe
you're just trying to say it. You don't think
William,
I'm a Fed.
I don't believe.
I'm
going to
totally
get that on the record.
You might be one of the
our
only
handler
people
says we're not Feds.
Oh my gosh, that is just weak. Anyway,
I'm just kidding.
Whatever.
It's jokes.
I don't care
folks.
anymore. I don't care.
So Berkowitz gets out of the army. Definitely, probably experimented on in Korea. Comes back, gets involved in the occult, and falls in with this cult that operates out of Yonkers, New York. And then around that time, a series of murders begins that all sort of have a similar modus operandi, which is like a blatant on the street confrontation of someone who's young, or young couples or young females, and just shooting them to death, or trying to, at least, with a large caliber bullet. And this becomes sensationalized in the news. And in its own right, this is like the proof to me in general that it's an op, is because of the like social contagion that it represents, is this idea that as mass hysteria, everyone's literally getting hair, girls are getting haircuts or bleaching their hair. Yes. Whenever you hear something shit like that, like, you know, like whenever I see like that video of the Beatles coming, like, and then it's on Ed Sullivan and the people are like screaming like that, it's like, this is fake. Something's fake about this. There's something going on here. I refuse to believe people just randomly act like in a way that they've never acted in history before.
So I have all these older brothers and sisters who were like compos mentis during that time, and from there, and their excuse was, because they were all from Brooklyn, like that, those are the people from New Jersey, that they weren't cool. They just lost their mind.
All right, I like that take. Yeah, I like that take.
They're from Jersey.
You hear that? We get a lot of Jersey listenership, so I don't know.
I'm from Rockland County. I have absolutely no chops when it comes to being from the big city.
The water ice went to their brains.
Yeah, I think that's the issue. Yeah.
So I did want to make a point about
they had too many hoagies and they got excited about the Beatles.
Dude, they got some good hoagies though. They do have good hoagies. So the one thing though, I didn't, just till you said this, I didn't realize the 44 caliber thing, that is a big bullet. Like that makes me think that lends to the snuff thing, because like a 22 is more lethal, but a 44 is like messier.
Yeah, more cinematic.
Didn't we learn that a 22 was more lethal in Program to Kill?
100%, yeah.
And
I've never putting it against the temple, it
just bounces around in there. Yeah.
Oh. No, it's, in a way, I know that's
I'm sad, Scott, because you're
doing your Norman Collier bit again.
You're glitching and it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's disturbing.
Scott's got bad internet, Monica. So
how is that possible? He's in America. You should have the bad internet. You're 5,000 miles away.
I've got fiber optic directly into my house that I don't share with anybody.
Yes, there is a phenomenon. Yeah, that when shit sucked worse, harder first, you get better stuff.
They make it up to you.
Yeah.
Because like the internet here was virtually completely unusable. We're now.
I'm the host.
Oh, you're the host now, but we've not. I don't think we can be recording it if you're the host. But anyway,
I think that he's going to go away and come back. Like
I think he is. Yeah,
it says recording. It is still recording.
It says. I've got to send him the link. Right. Okay. Well, one of the things I thought of, like, I read this book twice for this show.
Wow.
Because I read it ages ago when we first arranged to do it. So, and I thought, I better read it. Well, I read the second half of it again.
Yeah.
And it strikes me that what's really going on there, or one of the things that could well be going on, is that they're literally just doing it as like some kind of sectorism blackmail op, where the trigger man could have been, I don't know, some friend of Jeffrey Epstein's or something who wants to do it, and then have a movie of him doing it.
Wow! So the snuff film is being commissioned for the guy who wants to watch it, for the guy who wants to sell it, and for the guy who wants to do it.
Yeah.
So, why Berkowitz?
Why wouldn't it be that? And then they've got blackmail on that guy as well. Then,
yeah, and Berkowitz says that he only did like 3 of them.
Yeah,
it was probably a privilege.
Yeah,
they make him do a few so that he can be the fall guy.
Well, they do
because there were so many other descriptions, even not just the Carr brothers. Like there were other descriptions as well.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to now. Let's go. I've got. My job now, when this happens, is to send Scott a link.
Yeah, I can send him the same link he sent me.
Oh, go on. Hang on. Here we are.
Or he stopped recording. Just go in the sent. Yeah, that's annoying.
Right. Okay, so
it still says that I'm recording this.
Okay,
but whatever.
Yeah,
I have patience.
I mean, it probably is recording.
Internet. It says it is.
I don't know.
How can it have shitty internet? I'd like to know.
Well,
at 8:00 at night. Oh, he probably needs to buy more.
That might be it.
Well, this is a perfect opportunity to tell people to contribute to the show, specifically saying if someone can give him $100 a month, then he can up his internet. And I know because when I was at my mom's, I was with my mom and her declining months, and I had to upgrade her internet, which it just infuriated her. It was such a waste of money in her mind. But
it's still recording, Monica.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going.
Right.
So
yes, I think he's going to come back in.
Cool. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. And the way they covered it up. Oh, wow. So that would mean not just that the cops were incompetent or just wanted their win, but that they were covering it up. God, sometimes I can be so thick about like how this is.
Yeah, I mean, you got to spend a lot of time thinking about it. I'm not saying it's definitely what happened, but it could be, couldn't it?
But the cover up could absolutely be deliberate. And I had just also, as part of the research, I watched the movie Serpico. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, it's what they call him. She's got a great ass. That guy.
Yes, Al Pacino. Yeah. Yes, but when he was still trying, to like be someone other than Al Pacino as a cop or Al Pacino as a mobster or whatever, it's like he's acting like the character he's supposed to. He was trying to be Serpico. Hi, Scott. So I was watching this thing, which is around the same time. Serpico was a true story of the guy being like a good cop and everybody else was crooked and their entire job was not to stop crime, but to shake people down. It was in the same era, in the same city. And I was thinking, okay, so the cops were totally covering it. We're totally just wanting to get a W because they had a terrible reputation. But William was saying that it's possible that they were covering up what was something that they wanted to cover up.
Yeah. Like I've just made the point, Scott, that it's highly possible that the trigger men in these ones that Berkowitz didn't do, or at least some of them, could have been like pay-to-play tourist type guys, who...
Oh, that's a good idea. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Me too.
Because like they set it up like a military operation. It's almost like one of those experiences that you get a middle-aged guy who's got everything, like, drive a Ferrari around a racetrack for half an hour sort of thing. Yeah. Go and kill a young girl.
Yeah, numerous guns.
Yeah.
They had spotters.
Yeah.
To cover
the video. They're taking
multiple vehicles. They just bring the customer in. He does it, they video it, and then he's got his once in a lifetime experience. They've got blackmail on him.
They have the one where they let the chick do it, and that's why like the person couldn't handle the gun. There was like one or two like that. So of course, blame it on the chick. I'm so sick of that stuff.
Well, it's a 44 Magnum. It's a very hard gun to shoot.
I understand.
Yeah.
But
for anybody, especially a weak-wristed woman.
I'm with you. No, it's definitely true that it would be more likely that, whatever, like cowardly, weak, inexperienced female. Yeah, stereotypes are there for a reason. However, it's also a good cover. Like when they threw the Triple G fight and they were like, well, there was a female judge and, the moon is full. Yeah. So it's an easy way to, like Boeing is a DEI problem. It's It's an easy out. But yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, that was a fun meme for like there was like that whole corporate intrigue going on with Boeing or whatever, and then they're like
killing guys.
Black people can't fly planes.
Yeah, it's just
Anthony Cumia is going on being like these blacks can't fly planes.
There's a Jamie Foxx like funny little skit about that, but there's a whole like Huell Hauser on Boeing from back in the day. Like everything's triple redundant. Like they have people watching people screwing in bolts and then, two other people. I just don't even believe that whole thing, but that's a bit of a tangent. But yes, it could be, what did you call it? Weird sex, brutal snuff tourism?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. It's like,
I mean, they were paying for the films, right? So.
Yeah. I mean, like you've got this guy, what was it? The guy from Long Island.
Raiden.
Yeah.
Roy Raiden, who founded.
I can't remember his name because I just want to say Ray Reardon, which you guys probably don't know who that is, but it was
not a clue.
Very famous snooker player from the 1970s. He looked like Dracula.
No, it's Reardon. I know. It's obviously he's Irish. Yeah.
Hank Reardon.
Oh, Hank Reardon from Atlas Shrugged. Yes, of course.
I know that one.
But
this was the guy, but the Raiden guy was like found with his like guts liquefying, like he was liquefying in the desert.
Well, he'd been sitting in this canyon, this rural canyon for weeks and weeks, and there was like strong evidence. What's that?
So gross.
Full of bees.
Yeah, that's gross. That's really undignified to be eaten by bees on top of all of it.
But that's like so they've got the biblical reference where they killed Raiden.
Oh, the lion with the bees in it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like that's a Daniel thing, isn't it? Is that? Am I right there?
And there was a Bible next to his body.
Yeah.
Open to Isaiah.
Out of the what is it? Out of something comes forth sweetness because the bees had made a nest in the
lion's
head of the beast.
Yeah. That was Samuel, by the way. That was and it was what's his name said the poem, or the King Saul had to answer the riddle, I think. Whatever. The point is that there's definitely some biblical connotation there. I think you're right about that. But yeah, so this Roy Raiden guy was like obviously, New York, Meyer Lansky mob kind of thing, and he ran he ran these like vaudeville shows out of the Catskills and stuff like that, and he was getting
a week try the veal.
Yeah. He got in over his head kind of because he owned 45% of the interest to make the movie Cotton Club, later directed by Francis Ford Coppola, produced by Robert Evans, good friend of Roman Polanski, serial child molester, and also he produced both two occult-related films, Rosemary's Baby and Chinatown. Robert Evans is executive producer of
that satanic one of Sharon Tate. That might not have been Evans. Sorry.
You made me watch.
Baby. Yeah, I said that.
Scott made me watch Rosemary's Baby. That is ghastly.
Creepy. It is ghastly.
It's an excellent horror movie because it represents real horror.
And I like The Exorcist too, and that director made that Timothy McVeigh, that bad Timothy McVeigh movie. The same.
Right. Oh yeah, we watched that. That really was.
I didn't see it, but I knew. I heard it was bad. So I didn't watch it.
William, you watched that piece of shit. Remember, it had Brittany Murphy or somebody with it in it. It's like just a trashy trailer woman in a room with Timothy McVeigh's like MK Ultra roommate. Do you remember that? They have bugs all over them and shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that movie sucks. But what's it called? The First Baby is not bad. It had its moments. The Jolly West stuff was good. But anyway, so this Roy Raiden guy, he likely was the one who wanted to procure the video of what's her name?
Stacey
Moskovich murder. Also, he famously got accused of rape and torture on video from like some young actress.
Who was
and
in?
He beat the case.
Welcome Back, Kotter.
Oh, is that really true? I didn't know that.
Welcome Back, Kotter.
That's funny. I didn't know that. Up your nose with the rubber hose.
Yes, exactly.
Up your rear.
Oh,
with
and
the rubber.
what's his face was a Scientologist.
Yeah. Oh,
John Revolta, my father.
Yeah.
John
Oh my
Revolta.
God, we're sacrificing the German shepherds.
No, you gotta have John Travolta
Hey,
going into
Sandy, you want to kill some German shepherds tonight? I'm over it.
You're gonna have John Travolta going into a taxidermist to get a German shepherd's ear mounted. Which is a crazy little
in
wrinkle
Minot,
from the story.
North Dakota.
Yeah.
It's for Juan Epstein.
And Juan Epstein, that's right.
She
That his
was
character's name.
Angie Grabowski.
Interesting. Well, she got whipped and forcibly rogered
Bad stuff,
by Roy Radin and Associates. And he was able to somehow prove it in court that it was consensual, I guess. Or I actually got to imagine some Serpico nonsense was going on, to be honest with you, with that one. But he was also likely the procurer of that snuff film with the Moscovich murder as well. So,
he's the sort of guy that could have been a trigger man on something just for fun. But I think that the book kind of points to guys at his sort of level as being like the upper circuit. Because Maury Terry, don't forget,
I think so
this was written a long time ago, and but Maury Terry still thought of himself as a respectable journalist and. So, these newspapers used to just do the government line, but things have got better since then, and
right. But,
so he's not blackpilled enough, really. Like
at the time of writing,
great. But then, at that time, I'm not calling him out for that, but I'm just saying that he's not. You don't really get the impression that he's thinking, well, no, the guys like Radin are also just lower level operatives, really.
He sort of did insinuate that he was like sort of the kingpin of it, but then he ends up getting rubbed out by Robert Evans anyway, because he gets into that thing where this like known occultist woman was like the middleman between him and Robert Evans. She ended up going to jail for like arranging for
Jacobs,
this ring guy
I think was her.
Elaine Jacobs. That's right.
Yeah, she had a real name too, which was like Berkowitz or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. But what's it called? She ended up doing a contract hire for kill of Roy Radin on sort of behalf of. This is speculation, of course. In court, it's proven, air quotes, that Robert Evans didn't have anything to do with it. But go fuck yourself.
By the way,
here's the Trigger Man. The Trigger Man was.
Man's on the second, supposedly.
Right.
Yeah.
As I was telling Monica while you were on having your little toilet break there.
My internet went down the toilet.
Yeah, I've listened to this. I read the book once, and then I read the second half of it again this weekend, just gone, just to refresh my memory. And
that's when I did the exact opposite. I read the whole thing, and then I read the first half again.
Right. So, like, I had to I've had time to like ferment and cogitate and allow a few extra schizoid theories to bubble up in my head. One of which was the trigger men. Some of them are probably pay to play guys, and the other one is what's the deal with Berkowitz's dad? Because Berkowitz's dad is like stands by him, and that like he's allegedly kind of having a big influence on Berkowitz's actions in jail as regarding who he talks to or not. And he's the guy that Berkowitz is protecting from retaliation.
That's what that's what
Berkowitz thinks anyway. But what if Berkowitz's adopted father is also part of the conspiracy?
Interesting. Jeffrey Dahmer's father seemed to be.
Jeez, I'm not. That's kind of making me sick. I don't think I can do that.
But he could be, couldn't it? Because like he's.
Well, his stepdaughter was allegedly a witch. His first contact with occultism, and when the police questioned her, is when Berkowitz totally clammed up. Which, by the way, the dad lived till 101.
Wow. So if you think of it in the context of other things like this. You know, you've got Lee Harvey Oswald. You know, there's evidence that there were 2 Lee Harvey Oswalds from when he was a baby, right? And
a schoolboy too.
Like, if they wanted to create Berkowitz from the beginning, and the real Berkowitz guy is part of the project, he's like, well, I don't want to use one of my own kids. We'll take this one from the orphanage and we'll do it with that one. I'll bring him up as my own son and we can use that one.
He's got to be Jewish.
Yeah. But he wasn't. That's the other thing.
He wasn't
born it.
Elizabeth Broder is his real mother. And I don't remember the dad's name.
Falco.
But he gave him the name Falco.
Richard David Falco, which can actually be legally required sometimes. If you are actually married, I think they may never have gotten a divorce. If you are actually married, at least in New York at that time, I remember always knowing this, that you had to put your husband's name on the birth certificate. That's what they would do. You would have to do it. So his name would have to be Falco if they never got a divorce. But she and her paramour, who was a married man with children, they were both Jewish. So he was Jewish.
Right. Okay. Right.
Richard David Falco. And then he was adopted.
That's also like just
to David Richard. And he tracked down the mother and she called him Richard. And so there's 2 conflicting stories. He says that he liked the mother, got along with her, got along with the sister. And then at other times, some people say, that was bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's also just for the full record though. That's very common. There's like literally Jewish only adoption agencies because they're very big into that sort of thing.
That's reasonable.
Yeah.
I think Catholics too, because especially Catholics want that because you want to baptize. You think you can't get to heaven without being baptized.
Right.
I'm okay with that.
So what's it called? So he falls in where I don't know where you guys went while my internet was taking a dump.
Just talking about the fact that it could have been a snuff rodeo.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So these murders start happening. This Christine Freund, a couple of them like that. Maury Terry sort of pulls the thread and sort of figures out like, oh, this woman might have been like a call girl. You know what I mean? Specifically what's her name? Veskerchian. Didn't she have like some weird connection to like a call girl or brothel type deal? Or something like that. I feel like that certainly she knew the cult too. That was the other thing. Oh, and she also was like Russian too. That was the other thing. So it seemed like it could be some sort of intelligence thing as well.
Sounds Armenian, but
it can be. But YAN means it's.
I didn't see that. Okay,
well, wasn't Armenia sort of behind the Iron Curtain in those days anyway?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's true. They speak Russian there still, like bilingual kind of. I know a lot of Armenians.
Yeah.
There's
I don't know if you know that Los Angeles. Oh, is he Armenian?
Yeah.
There's a lot of
I didn't know that.
Armenians in LA.
In Greece, they say that an Armenian is just a Jew that followed a rolling coin into a church.
Is that really?
That's a real Greek racist thing to say? Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, it is a thing that they say. And
it is. Yeah, it is.
You've been waiting. They've been waiting to put out there for the longest time.
I mean, it came up, didn't it?
Yeah. I just didn't know if you just made it up and like you're waiting.
Swear to God, I heard it.
Throw it in there.
Yep.
I'm trying to look at Veskerchian, but it is spelled with an I. But okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm not trying to.
In the book, he mentions that she was a Russian language speaker.
Yeah, I would think so.
And so I just thought that raised my eyebrows. Maybe and also at the end of the book, you get like sort of like a dialogue between Terry and Berkowitz, by the way, where he asks him point blank, like, which ones did you do?
Yeah.
Which ones did you not do? Yep. And why and then most of them, he sort of gives like a real explanation as to the sort of why, or like at least what the occult significance was of each murder. Like specifically, they did that shooting at the Eliphas Disco in Queens, which has several connotations. First of all, Eliphas Levy was like an 18th century sorcerer guy Kabbalistic sorcerer or whatever. And then also Eliphas is the Roman or the Latin name for behemoth in the Bible.
Billy
She's
Bob
Bulgarian,
struck.
by the way.
Yeah,
Bulgarian.
yeah.
She was born in Bulgaria. But I can't find any biographical information on her. What are you saying? How do you?
It's in Ultimate Evil that I'm pulling. I'm pulling it from. But he said something about how she knew somebody. I don't remember, but the point is that she knew somebody who was connected to the State Department or something. Maybe I don't know.
Okay,
these people would all be comedians now if this was happening today. Instead of going on a murder spree,
Netflix series.
Yeah. Your dad's in the CIA? How about a career in stand-up?
Oh, yes. Yeah, so I was wondering what you guys were thinking. Thank you very much. I try to get with your rhythm, but sometimes it goes over my head. So I was wondering what you guys were thinking about. There was one thing I was reading in this book, this witchcraft book, The Anatomy of Witchcraft, which was published in 1972. It says there are something like 17 million Satanists in this country, something crazy like that.
Right.
In 1972. So do you think that's on? Is that
I bet there's more than there are now? More than there are now, I bet.
And okay, so that's the first question. And then the second question is, do you think that the CIA, for example, still uses Satanism as a tool? Because the serial killing thing kind of, even
it's mass shootings.
What's his face will say, it kind of took a back seat. It does clear a lot of cases at once, so they pop up every once in a while.
Yeah.
But I think Satanism is still a thing, an active operation, even though it's like second fiddle. Or not at all. Just I got a life of its own. Because the process people, the de Grimstons started like the animal sanctuary.
Yeah, I was literally just going to say that. Yeah.
Well, my view on it really, I mean, like I'm not really engaging with the question here, but because my view on it now, and it's becoming stronger every day, is that, anything to do with the state and the government of nations is the realm of Satan.
It's very Girardian of you, William.
Yeah.
So that's that's answering the question from the other direction.
Yeah.
Well, it's perforce.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'll double down on that. I think like in the Girardian sense, like any sort of like sacrificial rite is satanic, whether or not it's actually inspired by a anthropomorphic devil. Like literally there's a guy with a pitchfork and shit, maybe. But regardless, if you're killing people in a ritualistic fashion for like power and like weird gratification and stuff, that's satanic. And that's definitely happening, whether or not they're actually putting the flavor of, the Satan mythology on it or not anymore.
Okay, so I have to then use this opportunity to interject something else, unless, William, you were...
No, I was just going to top that off by saying, a Big Mac in a Whopper box is still a Big Mac, isn't it?
Yes, so true, yeah.
I think Hitler said something like
that, didn't he? Okay, so because they won't come up again, so it is pertinent to this. Okay, so what I only saw once in a passing reference, and I believe it was in the Ultimate Evil book, was that before Berkowitz went into the occult thing, maybe before he went into the service or just after, he did hook up with some kind of like evangelical or Baptist church before he did the occult thing. Just a brief mention. So I was thinking, well, maybe he just has that kind of personality that he just needs that kind of religion. But there's one little thing. So do you think there's any chance, and I don't, but what do you think about his current state of evangelicalism being in any way insincere or manipulated? Because part of this process church is Jehovah, Lucifer, Christ, and Satan all together.
Well, I mean, this is a big question throughout the book, especially when Maury... the information he's getting from him. So like it's questionable, right? And I can see why people shit on it, because you've got a lot of this information is coming from jailhouse informants who are in contact with Berkowitz inside. And who's to say that they're not just making it all up, you know.
Right. Or Berkowitz is just making it all.
Or Berkowitz is still being handled by his dad, like you said, because it is true. He absolutely drew a line with his dad, and there was nothing else, and that came and went.
Yeah.
And his dad did live to be 101, so when he was talking, you would think his dad would have, when they slit his throat, you'd think they would have turned around and slit his dad's throat.
Yeah.
But then they would have no leverage over him, so I could see how it works either way. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's about the leverage ultimately.
But it is kind of, if it was the police presenting evidence from jailhouse snitches, I instantly disregard that. You know?
Right? Yeah, exactly. But it was because he was just a guy who was interested in the case. Well, I'm like, all right, now we're on the case.
Well, also he's saying what we want to hear, so but it's not the strongest part of the case. Is all I'm saying.
But
you've got to acknowledge that.
I don't trust the Netflix documentary, although I've seen a bit of a pattern.
I want to comment. I watched it almost
me
entirely.
too. Yeah.
I couldn't bring myself to watch it because the guy who produced it wrote that terrible introduction to the book. I'm not watching anything you make, you dickhead.
Yeah. So the end was bad like that. But Maury Terry as a person, it was brought out in the Netflix documentary. I did actually find him believable because of that. But yes, the Netflix documentary, which I don't believe.
Yeah.
I do want to take a moment to talk about that Netflix documentary. First of all, it's guilty of the thing that I just hate about all Netflix documentaries is, first of all, it's got this really lame style. And I just want to recommend anyone who's, first of all, familiar with The Simpsons, but also familiar with Netflix documentaries. There's a video on YouTube called Steamed Hams, if it was a Netflix true crime documentary.
Right.
And they just nail the cheese dick, like Netflix documentary aesthetic, but they do it for just a famous scene from The Simpsons. And it's very funny. But to the point where it's like that should indicate to you that somebody just making a goof video on YouTube about The Simpsons was able to completely lampoon your style as being totally hack and predictable. They can make a Simpsons scene parody of it. Yeah.
The AI could generate it on any topic.
Legitimately. And so the other thing I wanted to say is that this is a major problem with all Netflix documentaries, particularly made by these Duplass guys, who I believe are the producers of this and all the other ones, all of these famous documentaries. They extensively go between using real footage and reenactment, and they do not indicate, which I know because I have a background in filmmaking, and also I'm just kind of a good eye for that kind of shit. But like specifically, there's times where it's like, okay, I know this isn't footage. It's Maury Terry driving in his car to the prison to go meet with Berkowitz or whatever. Obviously, they didn't have a camera. But the fact is, the guy that they have being Maury Terry, and that looks like the guy that they have being Maury Terry in an interview scene. So I'm like, which
Are you sure they didn't have
positive.
A camera there?
They didn't. I'm in his car. No, definitely. And there's also just, I'm telling you, go back and watch it. That's tons and tons of little inserts.
In this one,
the octopus, which I hated, by the way.
The Netflix? Yeah, that's why I had to read this entire book into my show. Because I was like, this needs to be accessed. And the guy who made it looks exactly like Danny Castellaro, to the point where his ex-girlfriend was like, this is making me uncomfortable. And he's like, it's a weird coincidence. And I'm thinking, there's no chance on earth that's a coincidence. No. So he's like, I'm just walking through the motion. I'm just taking the steps.
I think they do makeup too to change the way they look as well.
But it's so misleading.
Listen, people.
It is really misleading.
Netflix is owned by Barack Hussein Obama. CIA operative. Yeah. Well, he's a...
So we don't care about the Bernays, like the Sigmund Freud Bernays, like Netflix founder.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The whole thing is... It's horrible, isn't it?
It's just kind of obvious and it's annoying. And because I knew as soon as they did Uncle Ted and like Boston Marathon bombing, which are two things I happen to...
I couldn't believe that. I watched
bullshit proof on those, and I was like, "Oh, I can't." I got through 1 minute of the Ted one, I
got through 1 minute of the Ted one because it's all like, oh yeah, the FBI are geniuses for tracking this guy. You just did nothing, and you did nothing productive until somebody wrote to you and grassed him up.
His brother, driven on by his bitch wife, as you pointed out in the past. So I get that, but I was thinking he said if you publish this thing, I won't do any more bad stuff, which I'm not even 100% sure he did in the first place, and he was MK Ultra. So, but his brother his brother probably knew he wouldn't do it anywhere. He's like, oh, well, you published this thing. So he's done. Great. Thanks. You know, but yeah, it's so, I feel so conflicted about that one, but it is hard to believe that he did something kind of like the bombs were irrational. Like, why would you do that? But they were so cleverly made that I have to say he probably did do it, but okay.
Yeah. Did you see that image going around of somebody was selling an unopened Uncle Ted bomb on eBay?
No.
I guess it failed to go off or something, and they just had it. They were selling it for $40,000 on eBay.
That's tricky. How do you authenticate that?
Like need
tricky. You can kind of sell a lot of those. Just don't look at it too closely.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just cover some more bases here. Oh yeah, so
get one of those, right, and open it up. Put the moving parts out of one of those Billy Bob wide mouth bass things from the 1980s in it on a timer, so it just starts going. Whenever anyone walks in the room, it starts jumping about like a fish.
Bobblehead, little Uncle Ted bobblehead.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, but the Netflix documentary, the thing I wanted to say though is they totally soaked this guy. They soaked Maury Terry.
Yeah, obviously.
And I'll tell you exactly how they did it. Because I knew what they were going to do it the whole time. I objected to the introduction that you also listened to, William, that I also listened to. And I could tell that basically, just for those who aren't initiated with that introduction, basically this version of the book has like the director of the Netflix documentary being like, yeah, so this book's bullshit, but this asshole I knew begged me to make a documentary. Yeah. So I guess I did it. Here you go. Here, enjoy the shit.
Yeah, I didn't
tone he takes.
Yeah, I didn't have the balls to shit on him like this while he was alive.
And that's what my mother always said.
Yeah. The reason I didn't make the documentary, which is going to shit on all over him while he was alive, is because we were kind of friendly with each other. So I waited till he was dead, and then I shit all over him from a great height.
Yeah, but that producer was so young though. They're like, it's so unlikely that he was Terry's friend. I mean, so unlikely.
He begged me. Well, yeah. Sauce. Yeah. Sauce. I said so.
His good friend who was at his deathbed when he died, Maury Terry, is like his last dying breath was like, wait, call that chick back in my last file. I think she's got the answer. You know, like his whole thing to the very end. His like, and all of his good friends were there. This guy wasn't a part of that.
No, I mean, like, obviously Maury Terry was aware of the weaknesses of his, because you can't make a salt purse out of a sow's ear, can you? You know, he had jailhouse informants. That's all he had, and he could have been being played, but I mean, like by his own account, at least he was very careful with it,
and he kept trying. So even after he wrote the book, he didn't give up. It was 20 more years, I think. He kept working on it, and I will say, as far as that book is concerned, I agree with you, William. He really wasn't cynical enough. Like he never even suggested MK Ultra stuff or the LSD where what's his face Berkowitz said he did LSD when he was in Korea.
That should have been a red flag.
Yeah. But when the book's written, maybe it wasn't that, like just a journalist, a guy who works for IBM or whatever. How's he supposed to know that?
No,
there was no Program to Kill book out yet, to be fair.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that till someone suggested it to me.
I'd have loved to have done an interview with Maury Terry after he'd read Program to Kill and see what he thought of that.
My brother, who's one of these ones who's much older than I am, he was in Thailand during the Vietnam War as a young, he signed up. He wasn't even drafted. And he came back a junkie. He got a dishonorable discharge. And my mom bought that. She was like, I gave you this perfect guy who signed up and you sent me back a junkie and you're not even going to like send him to treatment. So I talked to him about that. And he said that the base shared a chain link fence with the heroin factory. And for 50 cents, they would just give the thing. And I said, do you think they did that on purpose? To get you? And he was just like, absolutely not. No way. What kind of fucking un-American bullshit is that? Like, I don't know. Like it seems.
Yeah, I got to imagine there was at least some complicity going on.
Yes, of course. So I was just thinking, no matter how it unfolded, it's a pretty controlled environment. So yes, I'm sure you can, like in a jail, you can get drugs, but it's not because they're trying to make sure that you don't get them.
No.
Right.
So if in Korea, it's just, even if he wasn't part of an MK Ultra thing, it certainly would make him vulnerable.
Well, because the whole Asia to USA drug pipeline is all
Golden
US
Triangle,
government sponsored anyway.
Yeah,
it's US intelligence sponsored.
Yeah.
And
so,
then,
I mean, that's another thing that Maury he misses out on in the book.
That was glaring, actually. Yeah. The fact that he's mentioning that the Hells Angels are the ones moving the drugs around. Yeah. Who do you think still does it for the CIA? The Hells Angels. By the way, I get there's a few people I know that are like, hey man, you better not talk about them. They're badass. And I'm like, they're spooks. I don't know what to tell you. The fact that they're all Satan and
the state death squads.
I mean, isn't one of the gangs the Satan?
Satan's
I think
Satan's
slaves. They get waiting for the reparations.
Well, Hell's Angels, first of all, is just Satan's. That's like the dudes that Satan
Satan's
took from
slaves, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
There's another one that's from Philadelphia that I can't remember right now.
Sons of Satan.
No, it may not.
Satan's slave. There's so many of them. Satan's choice.
I want to say it's like the Warlocks or something.
Oh, the Outlaws.
The Outlaws are from Massachusetts partially as well. I actually know some. I've know some people who know them. I'll say that.
My other brother, who's no longer with us for drug reasons, he knew those. He was definitely in that circle. But
He knew.
Yes, and but yes. So the government's
they're the ones moving the drugs around.
Right. And
this is how I explain it to people who are sort of on the fence about that. It's like there's tons of documentaries about, I don't remember what road it is, but it's a road that goes from Texas to Philadelphia. And then in Philadelphia, it meets up with I-95, which goes up the whole East Coast of America.
So like a Route 66 type thing?
I don't remember what the number is, but they call it the heroin highway. And it's all the heroin that comes out of Mexico is brought by the Hells Angels on that singular road to Philadelphia to distribute up and down the East Coast. Now, if you're telling me that's true, then it would be really fucking easy to stop all heroin from getting into America.
Yes.
Yeah, but cui bono, isn't it? Where does the money from the heroin trade go? And I think that is the level. I think Maury, I've forgotten his last name now.
Terry.
Maury Terry.
I keep wanting to say Taylor, but yeah. So Maury Terry, he's like he's got like the opposite of a glass ceiling to his, what he's looking, how he's looking.
Dome.
Yeah, he's got an iron dome. Because he's like, oh yeah, well the motive here is drugs and money. But really, we all know money's fake unless you owe it to the bank.
Yeah.
So the money's fake. The drugs are
funding
US
CIA stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So a US, but it's not just that. It's also, it's like you go to work to earn money, but you also want to get some satisfaction out of it. And it's the same with the drug trade. Yeah, they fund their black ops with it, but also they like the fact that the drug trade is ruining people's lives.
Yeah, and Berkowitz says it was about terror.
Yeah.
He says the primary purpose of it was to terrorize people, which is
what
strategy.
Dave McGowan says, isn't it?
Yeah, the serial and the mass shootings like this thing. Yeah. They're just, even when we had safe. Duck and cover, even when we had the Cold War, do you remember that?
Yeah.
Did you have that, William?
Yeah.
So we were terrorized by that.
Yeah.
Terrorized by fear of nuclear war.
It doesn't really do anything if the nukes are going to hit you.
Duck and cover under your desk? Yeah. I would not think that's a very so ridiculous. But now we have the school shootings, which terrorize these kids, terrorizes them.
Yeah.
And moreover than the actual school shootings are the fake quotes from libtards that say that what their kids say to them about the shootings. The fake screenshots of texts from inside the school.
The one from the high school I read today was, "Mommy, I hear boom, 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 boom." It's like, it is in high school. She's like, "Well, I need a translator." I'm like, "Well, what does that sound like in Spanish?" Like, that's not what a high school kid. Just today in the Wall Street Journal says to me.
Yeah. As if these...
Yeah.
The young Spanish kids don't even blink.
No, but like
this was a very nice town, Georgia. Yeah. That little town in Georgia was not bad.
I've heard that, yeah. But I was gonna say, it's like all of them are like, it's always like, "Mother, why won't the legislators understand that this is what needs to happen for democracy?" Like,
on the way out the door. Yes, that is also true. But in rereading programs.
And by the way, I'm only 3 years old, and I'm saying this cogent thought.
Yeah, I'm like a little Greta. So what he was saying is how that childhood trauma can make you a psycho. In Program to Kill. And it was so poignant to me. I was like, oh, they're completely terrorizing these kids right now between COVID and the shooting and the climate thing is making kids literally terrified that the world will not exist.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I don't think that one's working.
I've heard people say that. Yeah, that their kids are terrified about the future of the environment. What, school shootings isn't working?
No. I think that's the one that's working because it's, it's like somewhere where they actually go every day where they're like, oh, imagine if this was turned into a nightmarish hellscape.
Yeah. And they do real ones.
Yeah, that's right. And that's empathy. You can empathize onto that. But like, I think the climate thing, and again, maybe this is anecdotal on both of our ends. I've talked to a bunch of younger people and most of them are just like, yeah, whatever. That's fake.
Yeah. I live in LA though.
Yeah, true. Yeah. I'm from Libtard, Massachusetts, though. I mean,
yeah. They're way more sad. We had a lot of like Black Lives Matter. I rented a house in a really fancy.
Yeah, they're racist here in low key, secretly racist.
Yeah, like all these like expensive murals that the kids were doing with their fancy chalk about Black Lives Matter. And I'm like, this is made up. But
this girl I went to high school with was like crazy into Black Lives Matter in 2020. And like wrote it on her car and shit.
She's voting for Trump.
No. But no, she's all of that energy is now into Karen Reed. I don't know if you guys know about this Karen Reed case in Massachusetts.
Oh yes, I have a friend from Massachusetts who lives here.
I grew up the town over from where this happened.
It's so towny. They set her up. They were absolutely. But
what's this Karen? I don't know.
It's an episode. We'll do it another time. It's actually really fascinating. The cops basically set up this dumb drunk like bar skank for like they murdered another cop for I assume for their covering up like he was going to rat on their like stealing ring or something. I don't know.
Oh, child sex abuse.
Could be. I mean, oh, by the way, William. Also, do you remember that story out of Stoughton where I grew up?
Yeah,
where the girl disappeared. That guy's indicted for murder.
Right.
It's happening. Wow.
I like that.
Yeah, the town I grew up in is like insanely corrupt. Like there's now there's an inquiry into this murder that happened like now 5 years ago, where this girl that had been molested by like the entire Stoughton Police Department as like a 15-year-old, she like died while pregnant with one of their babies at 21. Like, and they called it a suicide, and for like 4 years they were going around saying it's a suicide. Yeah, I could tell it wasn't. I'll tell you that much. By the way, also one of the principals in the molestation thing punched me in the head in 7th grade as a cop.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you deserve it?
It was just in a schoolyard fight.
The cop? He was a little kid.
No. He was
I
was in a seventh grader versus 7th grader fight. Me and another 7th grader, and the cop. 31 came over and laid me the fuck out.
Wow. Okay.
To stop the fight.
Whether you deserved it or not, he does not have that authority.
Not supposed
Your
to
dad, okay, but yeah.
I think you guys are kind of old school. I think the fight, the level of fight I was in probably would have been let him fight a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It was not a bad thing, you know.
Stopping fights was unheard of when I was a kid.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It was just a little thing. It wasn't even.
Like he saw an opportunity to get his rocks off, so he punched you in the head.
This is the same guy, by the way, that even when I was in 7th grade, me and all the other 7th graders were like, yo, that guy's a pedophile. He's having the other girls in our class hold his muscles and shit.
Wow.
Oh, gross. That sounds totally true. Yeah.
So he was really just flexing to try and get some.
Yeah.
I unironically probably yes. So I'm not going to say the guy's name. I said it on that bonus episode, but I think I may be able to.
Yeah, if you want to know, you've got to subscribe at www.rockfin.com/historyhomos.
But no, to quote Norm Macdonald, I think in a couple months it'll be a matter of public record.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to testify since there's no more statute of limitations.
No, I don't know about that. I might recuse myself from such an act. But anyway, so we got a few more things I want to cover with this though. Is the Berkowitz thing. So this is some other things. So the Roy Raiden, I never finished talking about the Roy Raiden thing. Roy Raiden got his head blown off in a contract for hire thing for Robert Evans, likely because he wasn't cooperating in a movie deal kind of situation. And this guy that is referred to in the book as Charles Manson II, who is likely he never ends up being named through the book, I don't think. Or is he that Billy Menser guy?
William Menser, yeah.
That's who they ended up saying it is?
Was the one who went up for Raiden, and he is also said to be Manson too. I don't know.
Right. So he was a guy who was actually in the original Manson family as a lesser hanger-on, essentially.
Yeah.
And he ended up sort of continuing his career. William's miserable that he's sitting in this chair for this.
Why? What's happening?
He's in a new chair.
Uncomfortable chair.
Well, you got to fix it. Yeah, I mean, not right now, but like that's the time. You know what? That's another reason people have to send you some money.
Yeah.
This guy needs some like real internet.
Yeah, we're poor, fat, low IQ losers. We need money for chairs.
Yes, and he broke his chair because he's so fat.
Yeah.
So true. But yeah, so this Billy Menser guy, he was a lesser member of the family essentially, and I think he's like fairly well documented in the Ed Sanders The Family book, if I'm not mistaken, as being like one of these like operators in this whole thing, doing drug sales and stuff. But what's it called? Berkowitz in letters to Maury Terry indicates that this guy is connected to another murder that isn't like explicitly connected to the entire Son of Sam thing, which is Arliss Perry murder, which is this young Christian girl who was like living on Stanford campus with her husband who went there. And she had like some connection to the Minot, North Dakota wing of the cult. Essentially, she had like sort of tried to like get like some members to leave the cult and go to Christ or something was sort of what the implication was. But regardless, they tracked her down in Stanford and killed her in like a really brutal, ritualistic way.
At the church.
At church, yes.
Yeah, I did go to graduate school many years after that in Stanford, and I've been in that church, but I don't remember anybody talking about that. Which
I bet it's something they don't like to bring up.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. I mean, it was the brutality of it, the sacrilegious nature of it is horrifying. Her husband later became like a child trauma psychiatrist of like nationwide.
Right.
That was interesting.
That's kind of spooky.
Yeah.
But he was not seriously.
He's one of the good guys.
And when they went, I don't want to steal your thunder, but you know what happened to the guard?
No. What?
He got accused of the murder, right?
Yeah, at first he was the prime suspect.
Okay,
and then he escaped any of that. And then years later, they went to his house to arrest him because of some like DNA thing. And while they were at the door, banging on the door, he killed himself.
Wow.
Whoa.
So, I mean, it could go any way, but it definitely feels
He could have just let Billy Menser in. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if they're going to get your family. So I don't know why he did that. But, there was another weird thing about that. There were a whole bunch of other murders of women that age in that area around that time, which kind of vaguely attributed to him. One of whom was Chuck Taylor's daughter, which I thought was very sad.
Chuck Taylor, like the basketball player?
Yeah. He was a coach at Stanford, and his daughter. So I think they kind of sloughed off the Arliss Perry thing. But I mean, you couldn't have, because that was totally Satan. I mean, that was crazy. Nuts.
Yeah. And so it's quite interesting. It's like, I mean, Maury Terry did some fantastic work on this case, like decades of it, and he uncovered the mechanics of how they tracked her.
Doing it all, by the way, makes me feel like a fucking loser. I gotta tell you that.
Because he was young or old. I mean, he did it for his whole life, basically. Yeah. He did it for 30 years.
True, but like the best work was when he was exactly my age.
Are you 33?
They registered a phone line on the campus with the same name as her husband.
That was genius.
Yeah.
And you know why they did that? Like, why it was so genius.
So that she would ring him. She would ring that number and say, oh, if people ring.
Yeah, here's my number.
Here's my number. And here's my address, most likely as well.
So crazy. Yeah, because he probably had her mail.
Yeah. Because basically, people were looking up on, they call it directory information, I guess you call it. And what's this guy's number? Because we want to speak to Arliss. They get it. He hadn't got a phone yet, but this other guy, this guy who was hunting it, had under this guy's name, and they said, "Oh yeah, no, I'm studying at Stanford as well. I just happen to have the exact same name as your husband
and middle initial." Yeah,
and so like her parents rang this number. And he said, "Oh no, it's a wrong number." So they said, "Oh, okay." And they told Arliss about it in a letter. So she rung that number, told the guy, "If anyone else rings, asking for me, can you just give them this number, please?"
Yeah.
They call it tradecraft, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, one other big chunk of content before we get out of here, we're kind of coming up on time, but this one other chunk I want to discuss is the confusion between like the mainstream story with the dog and the Sam, John, and Michael Carr thing. So Michael Carr and John Carr are these two guys who were living in the house that David Berkowitz is renting. Mm-hmm. And they became friendly because they had a shared interest in the occult. It's actually arguable. I don't know if he ever says so, but he might have gotten into the cult through them, actually.
I think he moved there. After.
Oh, yeah, that's right, actually. Yeah, he did move there because he knew them from the cult. That's right. It was the other way
And it
around.
was like on Untermeyer Park, I think, which had
close
been
to it,
established as it was built to be a satanic church kind of thing. Did you know that?
Yeah. I did not know that specifically, but I
it has tunnels underneath for human sacrifice.
Right.
The documentary has a lot of real footage of the place, and it's like, what the hell was the use? What was the real use of this?
Hey, Molly, I'm not going to sit here while people criticize religious institutions for having tunnels under them in New York City.
No, I was a little. I read that and I was like.
Once we start criticizing religious buildings for having secret underground tunnels, then that's the end of democracy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what they're used for, but they got
nasty mattresses
upside down crosses.
That much
written in blood.
So he lived with these guys and was definitely involved in the cult. He later, after they were both dead under mysterious circumstances, I might add, he did confirm that they were trigger men in 2 of the shootings at least. Mm-hmm. So also the letters that really gave the entire story its character, they are peppered with references to John, Sam, and Michael Carr in it. John Wheaties, a rapist and suffocator of young girls. Bro is just he's fed posting. Yeah. He's just posting his name and nickname in a letter
to the of Sam. Son of Sam.
We're in the sons of Sam. We are the sons of Sam. Yep.
So were they the ones who were supposed to be set up for the crimes? Because Berkowitz said he was being set up for the crime, which is why he tried so hard to get arrested before another murder.
Right. Yeah.
And then when he did mention those guys' names, that's when they both died.
I took it to be that it was somebody they knew all along one of them was going to go down for the crime, and they didn't know who that was going to be. Yeah. But when David Berkowitz got a ticket, while they were doing the Moskovich murder. That sealed it that it was gonna be David Berkowitz. Yeah.
And then he went to them and was like, we gotta call this off. I just got a ticket. And
they were like, fuck you, buddy. We got video rolling. You got a ticket?
Is that your car?
I mean, that's the incident that made me think, I bet this one was a pay to play. That's why they didn't want to cancel it.
Like, I think, the video too was the justification, but for sure.
Yeah.
And definitely and the trigger man could have been whoever,
Maybe they didn't care that he was the one who got the ticket.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Because also we know that the son of Sam murders didn't stop after they arrested Berkowitz, and they didn't, and they started in the 1950s. So it's like, this is just a.
How about the Rockland County Dart Man?
The Rockland County Dart.
Do you remember that part? There's a part of the book where they're talking about
life.
Yeah, there was a murder. There was a string of murders that extended way prior to the and after the Son of Sam murders in Rockland County, where this guy was shooting people with a blow dart.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. And what about the weird, not Profumo, but what was the guy's name? Cisco. There was a cult pedophile.
So Sisman was the guy who was taking the video.
It was a Syria or some. It's a
Syriana.
My sister would know. No, it's like such a Crispo.
Okay, he was the guy that was mixed up with Christine Keeler or something, wasn't it?
I don't know, but there was a big. There are a few things happened in Rockland County where our taxes went up. One of them was Tupac's father robbed the Brinks truck down the street and went to jail. We had to pay for the trial. And my parents were like, when the trial was over, our taxes are supposed to go down. And another big trial that cost was the Crispo thing, where they had lured young men up with, they had bondage stuff and drugs and
they'll do it.
And one of them, I guess, died and they covered it up, whatever. But I was wondering if that was like a.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. And then also there was that guy. It's very funny. His name was Robert Hirschman. And he was a Nazi, believe it or not.
Come on, man.
And him and his wife got murdered in a satanic manner. Separate. They were last seen together, but they were found weeks apart in two different places, murdered brutally. And they were confirmed members of that cult. Right. So there was purging going on too. So they
doing what they loved.
Dragging a rat.
That's terrible.
Yeah, they do that.
It's how they would have wanted to go.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But yeah, so there's all kinds of crazy stuff. To your point, William, is that this was all the murder, and this is the same thing with all of these programmed to kill things. Oh, specifically, the Boston Strangler is really famous for this. Was the guy who went down for it. The murders continued well after he was in jail, and they were already doing that.
But it's hyper reality, isn't it? When the news. Now
the news shuts up about it. Yeah,
the news shuts up about it. So it's finished now. Now it's not terrorizing me.
Oh yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but and that's definitely what's going on here too. And but so a couple of the other things I just wanted to talk about is the so John Carr was definitely one of the trigger men on this thing, and he was John Wheaties as referred to in the thing.
And his sister's name was Wheat, and she worked at the police station.
Yeah, and what a coincidence that she was the one who put them onto the
phone.
Yeah.
When they're like, oh, we need to look into this, whatever part.
She was the one that came up with the lead in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Spooky stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, very.
And also, Michael Carr was actually was one of the first 700 people who were clear in Scientology.
Right. So the what happened to Sam Carr?
Sam Carr was just an old man. He probably had no connection to it, or maybe he did, and he's just
he was abused them. I think he abused
supposedly. Yeah, that's why they
in the attic and shit.
Right. That's what their justification. That's what Berkowitz said, that the reason they put references to Sam Carr in it was because they hated their dad.
Right.
And also that's part of their theology too. Is fuck your real parents. You shouldn't like your real parents. You wear your new family kind of thing.
It was very fashionable at the time.
True that. Still is actually.
Yeah.
But what's it called? So yeah. And so part of that was them being like, fuck you, Dad. We're going to get you in trouble with the cops with the murders we did.
Oh, yeah. Didn't he call Queens and try to turn in Berkowitz? Did we just say that?
He did. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we didn't say it, but no, he did. Yeah.
Well, Sam did.
Sam Carr did, yeah.
Yeah.
He said also there was another, again, Monica alluded to a minute ago, but like during the time that after Berkowitz's ticket was issued, he was like, oh, fuck, I got to get myself arrested for some other shit.
Yes,
so he participated in an arson on somebody's house. He started sending fucked up letters that implying that there's somebody's going to get killed.
Traceable to him.
And that were all traceable with him.
And two cops, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why they say that he said, what took you so long? However, he, in one of those interviews, said, I just have to correct the record. I would never say that. That's a smart ass comment. And I was scared. I did not say what took you so long. But he was probably thinking it.
Yeah.
But he did say, you got me. I'm the son of Sam. Yeah. You got me.
Smart move. But he really shut up, man. They cut his throat and he didn't say anything.
That's true. But the other thing was he said to Maury Terry, supposedly, that he said, look, when they caught me, I was like, I guess I just decided I would go down for the whole thing because I was guilty.
Yeah.
And it felt more right to me to just go down for the whole thing and cover for the other people. It gave me some.
So they didn't kill my dad.
Well, that too. But I think also at least he said, and maybe this is bullshit or post hoc rationalization, but he possibly was like, okay, this is my way of still being honorable despite the fact that I murdered people.
Yeah.
His whole transformation is actually what made me like tell you I wanted to talk about this. I was so emotionally affected by how sincere he seems now. I mean, were you? Did you watch any of his jailhouse interviews? There's one of him now he's almost.
I haven't seen the most recent one, but no, I saw the ones that the Maury Terry ones.
I mean, the most recent ones, he's just literally a Bible thumper. He's there with his Bible. He's never seen in any picture I've seen of him, like any interview without his Bible in his hand, constantly reading from the Bible. And I don't know whether to think of it as like desperate or inspiring. You know, he calls himself the son of hope. Like, I don't know how to view it, but it was emotionally, it definitely had an effect on me.
I think, he's definitely like a damaged guy.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt here. Just hope that it's for the right thing.
He seems sincere, but like, did it not make you feel like, wow, like there's a redeemed person or nothing? Like what?
Well, we're kind of, I mean, I don't think you could really put Berkowitz into the same category as Alicia Owen, but they both, because she courageously wouldn't shut up. You know, that's the lady from the Franklin scandal.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she went to jail for being
for a long time.
Perjury, which is so crazy.
I know.
That's what they do to you. Smart. Yeah. They should.
But as you were saying this just now, Monica, I agree with you, William, that it reminded me sort of that story about that anecdote from Alicia Owen that she talked about. She would like read the part about the golden fleece every day.
Yeah.
Or not the golden fleece, the fleece to see if it had a dew on it.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And she would just to see if there was news from the case or whatever every day. But yeah, I don't know. I imagine that like in general, prison is like such a like Kafka-esque nightmare that you probably have to find some sort of higher.
Yes, I totally agree. You have to do it and you have to be focused, and I can see how that works. His father, Nathan, died. He was 101 when he died. I don't know when he died, but Berkowitz is still alive.
Yeah.
So if that's really why he didn't tell all,
why?
Then he should be telling. He should be telling all, and they would know that, and they would have killed him, which they didn't. So part of it, could easily just be.
Who knows if they got like they went in and like sort of like taped over that part in his brain at some point. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like the Jolly West premise is that you can do that with people. You know what I mean? That you can just take little excise certain things out, put in new things and stuff.
Yeah, sort of like with. You know when you used to like want to tape over a pre-recorded cassette tape where you just put some chewed up paper in the little tab that was missing, so you couldn't tape over it. I think they just put a Q-tip in your ear.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And then the new information in the other ear.
So I'm looking for this thing from Haaretz. It's like a title called Today One Element of the Son of Sam Saga Ends. And this is rare. It is not, it's 404, but it is not in the Wayback Machine. That's not common.
Interesting.
Oh boy.
So who knows what that's all about. This day in Jewish history.
That's hilarious that they're claiming David Berkowitz. That is so funny, dude.
I can see what, like, maybe you just can't read it because you're in America, and like the ADL have cottoned on that if you actually read Israeli media, it leads to certain proclivities because they're a bit too open about certain issues in their own media.
Yeah, like when they were doing that, then they had that whole public debate, like national public debate over like whether raping like Palestinian like prisoners was like kosher part of the but that I was like, no, you guys can't. No, you're not really.
Yeah.
You are. You're really having that as a public intellectual. No.
It's crazy, and that guy's got his own. Like they took a gay sodomizer of prisoners. Well, I don't know if he's gay, but he's a sodomizer of male prisoners, and now he's got his own TV show because he became a celebrity because of it.
Oh, one of the nice Jewish boys or something?
Yeah. It's insane.
That little snippet made the rounds last week, I noticed. Weird interview there.
Yeah, that guy is he's ghoulish.
Yeah, but even that then makes me think, well, that's there to draw the
maybe, yeah. Well, I think if anything, it's to draw away. It's to draw away from the fact that they're still bombing those people.
Yeah,
I started like hoping Baudrillard is right. I'm like, maybe nothing's real.
Oh yeah, maybe the war in Palestine is not happening. Yeah,
I mean, why don't you just get?
I object to dignifying it with the name
it's
war.
Not a war.
True.
No,
yeah, you're right. Yeah. Well, I was referencing the Baudrillard book. The Gulf War is not happening.
Right.
Oh yeah. And then you have the CNN thing, which makes you think it's not happening. So, all right, let me see if I have anything else.
I think, yeah. I just John Carr though, he ended up moving away to Minot, North Dakota, and just being a local drug dealer / occult guy, and then he mysteriously killed himself while the cop is walking in the building. Yeah,
and there are actual photographs of him kind of going. I don't know if it's the police station or like the post office or something, where he's telling people like somebody's trying to kill me.
Yeah. It was a shrink. His shrink had said to him like the day before, he's like, someone's trying to kill me. I need to leave town and shit like that. And I think he was doing like drug seeking behavior, of course, going to the shrink looking for.
Yeah. But doesn't it just fucking gall you? Whether it's big murders like, the people at the top or people like this, they're so desperate to preserve their own lives. They're so fucking scared. But they are responsible for the deaths of so many people. I mean, being a physical coward and arbitrary murderer is
they're probably
particularly annoying.
Yeah.
They're probably correlated.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think like normal, well-adjusted people are going to be murdering people arbitrarily. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're paying other people to do it. And it is actually full circle to the whole nature of the structure of intelligence and how they operate in the shadows. And it's all deception. And there's no courage whatsoever. They have total power. They're above the law. And they arrange their affairs in such a way that they raise their money by selling basically innocent people drugs and then persecuting them. And, so I guess it isn't. It's
all in the interest of national security. The nation's extremely secure because of all this.
Yes, I feel secure. I feel nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of questions for you guys, but I'm going to ask you next time.
Okay.
Oh, right. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we're going to trail that.
Okay, I cannot say the name of your show. So you'll be like, I was plugging you guys all the time. And even my son, so I got in this little thing where I was listening to you. My son, who's not allowed to listen to you, I would be in the restaurants and stuff and referring to you guys in shorthand by just the second part of your podcast name. Like, oh, well, you know, and I'm really loud. So my son would get pissed. He was like, you can't say shit like that in public. And I'm like, but it's a joke. They're comical, you know? And he's like, nobody knows that. We're in a restaurant.
It's the left coast.
I know. It's not, it would not be cool anywhere. So I don't do that. But I just call you Scott and William.
Yeah.
So Scott, I'll be interviewing Scott and William on next week.
Yeah.
Probably.
Cool.
I was going to do it live. And I guess I can trust you guys, but I was a little worried. It's like, those guys,
I'll be good.
If they let their hair down, I might have problems.
No, we're
well,
very
look at
well
you. You're on your
behaved.
best behavior. Just even with me on your show, you're obviously on your best behavior, which I appreciate.
Our behavior.
We have our moments.
Yeah.
You're very respectful. I was out with Anthony last night. He's like, well, you do use your real name. I'm like, yeah, that's true. But although it's kind of a generic name, so I have a little anonymity with mine.
Yeah, well, that's why I can't use my real name, because my name is far from generic.
I wish I didn't know it. It makes me nervous, like I'm going to say it. I know. It's too late. It's too late.
To date, I've never slipped once. Now, I've forgotten to edit out other people's names saying your name.
Have you really? Oh, that's
briefly, terrible. Yeah, but
that's terrible.
But that wasn't me. I didn't do it. Why should I have to take responsibility?
Because you're the editor. Are you the editor? You say that there's this other editor, but I just wonder if that's another one of your gags.
No, there is.
There is another editor.
Scott does the audio. The other guy.
Because I actually thought, I was just about to say your real name, William, that you were gay.
Right, yeah. I passed that off really well, didn't I?
Am I the only person who thought that?
Nope.
No. People are still arguing about it, actually.
I thought you were literally it was just a gag on me.
No, no.
Everyone else knew, and I was so naive.
We kept it up for about 2 years, I think, something like that.
Yeah. I have a mutual friend who I'll hat tip. He emails you, and he recommended I watch Netflix. Yes, and he kept telling me it's a gag from the very beginning. It's like it's a gag. I'm like, I don't think so. I mean,
just look at that mustache.
He was wearing a purple suit. I mean, I just don't think so. And
he's just English.
Yeah,
exactly.
We're silly.
Maybe he went to one of those schools. So I did hear recently. Now I am very happily married and about to have my 25th wedding anniversary. So I'm not super worried about it, but I was a little disappointed to hear that you made your own steak and kidney pie.
I did, yeah.
That was a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah, it was really good as well.
Yeah, that's the worst part. Yes. And I'm not even English. But by the time I get around to I wanting another husband, I will not want one.
No.
So, I think
that's really how I feel, yeah.
Why would you even want it? I was thinking that. It's like, why would you want another husband? I love my husband, but when you get old, it's just, I just want to read in bed with the light on.
Yeah.
Which I can't do. So
yeah,
we can't end on that.
Does he need to have it in complete darkness or something?
He just goes to sleep really early, and I just like to go to bed when he goes to bed, and then I'm stuck literally under the covers with a book light and trying to
Encyclopedia Brown.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I literally do that though. But that's why people tweet at me videos. I'm like, I'm never ever listening to a video ever, because the only time I check that stuff is when I'm under the covers in bed. Yes, reading books like this in the dark, like Anatomy of Witchcraft and Program to Kill, and this one, The Shadow over Santa Susana, Black Magic, Mind Control, and the Manson Family Mythos.
Yeah,
this stuff that's
dark
crazy
stuff.
So thank God there's somebody next to me and not a stranger beside me.
Yeah.
So anyway.
But anyway, so is there anything? So now, obviously, next week we're going to be on the show. So you want to where can people find that, and where can people find all of your stuff?
So should we do it live? So you're
totally up to you. As long as it's not a day where we're normally taping.
So we've
got that booked in, haven't we?
I have you at 4:15 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah.
7:15. So it would be 4:30. Let's say.
She's doing that. Yeah, you tailored it to our taping time. It's next Thursday, isn't it?
Yes, but it's Thursday, not Tuesday.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how.
Yeah, because we're taping on Tuesday. Yeah.
Yes, you tape on Tuesday. So it would be Thursday the 26th. I think I'll do it live. And I just don't want to share you. So instead of doing 1 hour, it'll have to be longer because I'm not going to open it up to comments until after I get all my questions out.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So yeah, we could do that. And you can find that at, I think we could put it on YouTube. I put stuff on YouTube. I take it down later a lot of times, but it's youtube.com/Monica Perez. Always Rumble, rockfin.com/Monica Perez, which would be, good because I would actually make $1 or $2. And you can find whatever my stuff, MonicaPerezShow.com. And I tweet at Monica Perez Show, but I'm really just in a room with the door closed talking to myself.
Blankets over your head. Reading a book.
Yeah, no one's there to hear it. I am a tree falling in the forest on Twitter. I just hit 20,000, followers, and I get one heart. My analytics are nothing, 0. How is that even possible? But so you can talk to me because I'm alone there.
Yeah,
at Monica Perez Show, but the best place I think is all my podcasts, which are on iTunes and all that stuff. But if you want commercial free, because commercials are annoying, but I do have a producer and that's how I pay him. You can go premium on iTunes only.
On iTunes, right? Okay.
It's $4.99 a month. And I do that because that's the price of a newspaper. And what I'm giving you is that I'm reading the newspapers so you don't have to. And that's
that is a great service that you provide. Yeah. You keep up to date with things. I don't.
It's painful. I don't want to do it because it's full of lies, but I do it. And like I say, it's just like CBD. If you're not already using something, you don't need to use it. If you're not already on THC or wine, you don't need to go to CBD. If you're not watching the news, you don't have to listen to my show. But if you are already listening, then it's a healthier alternative.
Yeah. It's like quitting smoking and starting vaping.
Yeah, no, you want to quit smoking and just smoke cloves or whatever. I'd be the cloves. But I would like to actually put this show in its entirety in my feed, if you don't mind, which is something I don't do too often. So why don't you tell the people how they can die with dignity?
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, www.historyhomos.com is where you find our RSS feed. Also, we're available on Odyssey, BitChute, Rumble, and most importantly, like Monica, we're on www.rokfin.com/historyhomos. That's rockfin.com/historyhomos. And that's where you can find all of our regular free content like this episode and all the previous Monica episodes. But in addition, if you'd like to support the show, I gotta say, I don't want to say I previously said mission accomplished, but it's foolhardy to say that. But I will say I am very appreciative of the genuine surge of people who are interested in the bonus content. And I will say it's not without lack of the fact that we are really putting in an effort for these bonus episodes lately. Not lately, for the last 6 months or so.
I noticed that.
But to that end, thank you very much for supporting us. And we do often say, and it's definitely no less true, we're very poor and need the money. But we really do appreciate what you guys have brought, or what you guys have been buying in. We appreciate you. And I hope you like the content is what I'm trying to say, because we like you. And yes?
I have a question. So if somebody wanted to buy you specifically internet and buy William a chair, how would someone actually give you real green money? Is it paid?
Oh, well, we have Patreon, you can send us Bitcoin. We have a public Bitcoin address that's in the description of every episode, and it's in our social media, bio.
Or you could leave a tip on Rockfin.
You can leave a tip on Rockfin.
What's your Twitter thing again?
History Homo. I usually say that next, but History Homos. History Homos Pod, all across social media. But I was going to say though, also, we do have a PayPal account if you just want to give us money too. But feel free to. It's paypal.me/historyhomospod or History Homos. I can't remember. I'm going to type that in just to be sure.
Yes, that's important. Really, it's shameful that your internet goes out. You got to upgrade.
I do actually. You want to know something fucked up, Monica? Is I have the most expensive internet that Comcast sells, and I'm plugged in.
Okay, but I think I just got you like $500 for it, and now you just disappeared those new donations. That's okay.
No.
No, but
Thank
really,
you.
It isn't a money.
It is History Homos. PayPal.me/History Homos. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So you're at the best they have to offer, and you blink out at 8:00 on a Tuesday night.
I'm in the hood, if that makes a difference.
I don't know.
I
don't know if it does.
But irregardless,
maybe they're stealing the wires.
Yeah, maybe. I also just we're talking about the Son of Sam thing, and they're just like, shut it down.
Although it's passé, it doesn't matter anymore.
I know. I'm just kidding. But regardless, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm very embarrassed, though. It's bullshit. The internet thing. And I don't know what else to do. I'm actually at wit's end. So if anyone wants to like come over to my house and like look at the wiring or something, please email me at historyhomos@gmail.com. And yeah, you can also buy, if you all, speaking of that email address, you can buy a t-shirt with Uncle Ted in a blasphemous state.
I want to get my mind around that. Like, how am I okay? Like, you love Jesus. Why would you do that?
Well, we didn't make the art, for the record, but it's cool. And I thought first of all, I thought it was really cool that a listener gave us original art for the show. And to that end,
well, I think it kind of represents the show in that it's about.
Can I see it again?
The show melds like religious theology, philosophy, and history. And who does that better than?
Okay, so
better than Uncle Ted.
So,
I don't think that's not meant to be Christ, though, is it?
He's got the Sacred Heart and a halo. So It is the first commandment. I'm not mistaken. You cannot take lightly that which is divine. And I'm trying to get around that because I like the t-shirt. I'm not going to hell for that. So.
Understandable.
Maybe you can have a fluffy one for me, a cute one. Well,
we are working on new merch. The problem is that we have a bunch of old merch that has been unbought as of yet. So I don't really want to invest more money in merch, as it were.
Yes, I have a box of defunct t-shirts.
They're not even defunct so much. But they're great t-shirts, and by the way, the quality is excellent. Just so you know,
unbelievable.
But the fact of the matter is that they are not. I mean, actually, we made our money back on them, for the record, but there's just a bunch of them.
Give them to like Salvation Army or whatever. Like, you'll see all the like landscapers in your neighborhood.
Like next time,
it's true. You might as well if it has your URL on it or something. It doesn't.
It doesn't. Next time there's some kind of something kicking off in Rwanda or something, you'll turn on the TV and they'll all be wearing History Homos t-shirts. Hacking each other to death with machetes.
Exactly. That would be great.
That would be good.
Yeah.
All right. That guy has to go to sleep. You probably,
Yeah. But also join us in our Telegram group. Still, as of recording date, still the friendliest place on the internet. T.me/History Homos is the channel. T.me/History Homos. Chat is the chat. And Die with Dignity. William, what would you like to say to sign off tonight?
God loves a trier.